Hey, what's good, everybody? I'd like to welcome you all back to the Boombox Guru channel. I'm your host, LB. So before I begin today's video, I just want to ask everybody if you could like, share, and subscribe to the channel and this video, because it does help out this channel. For today's video, I'm actually doing another album review, and I know it's been probably a few months since I did my last album review, but I finally have gotten the album that I really wanted to talk about. It's a newer release, actually came out around August of last year. I was a little bit late on this album, but you know what they say, better late than never. But I'm glad I came across it, man, because I think that this album is a modern day classic. I think it's one of the best hip hop collaboration albums that has come out in recent years, and I've highly enjoyed it. Ever since I've bought it, I've just been heavily listening to it so much, man, that I felt that it was finally the time that I made a video about it and discuss it, man. So we're gonna get right into this video. We're gonna talk about this particular album right here by Black C and Joe Fresco, called Ruthless. And like I said, this record came out August 2023. So this is a collaboration album between these two artists. Both Black C and Joe Fresco are from the Bay Area. Black C being from San Francisco, Joe Fresco being from San Jose. So just a little brief history about the two artists. Black C is actually the founding member and the last surviving member of the legendary hip-hop group called RBL Posse, which included fallen late rapper Mr. C, and later on Hitman. Although Black C is technically Hitman was not actually a member, but he was a part of the RBL brand, the posse, the family. He was a part of it, but the group was really just Black C and Mr. C. But you know, they had a huge hit back in the early 90s called Don't Give Me No Bammer Weed, which has become a timeless hip hop classic. It's a timeless weed anthem. I mean, it's right up there with I Got Five on it, in my personal opinion. And of course, you know, RBL Posse, they were on their way to being one of the biggest rap groups out of the Bay. They was about to be one of the biggest rap groups of all time, until tragedy struck with Mr. C dying to gun violence, which changed the direction of the group. Black C soldiered on. You know, he brought Hitman in more, and they continued to release albums. And unfortunately, Hitman ended up passing away due to gun violence in the early 2000s. Black C has soldiered on. He's a real warrior. You know, he's carried on the RBL legacy. He's released a lot of solo albums that have all been really good, especially the ones he's released in the past 2 or 3 years, including this one. They're all been really great records. He's continued to rep the RBL name through merchandising, through touring, and doing shows. He still does shows, and man, he doesn't like he's stopping anytime soon. Honestly, it really doesn't. I mean, he did go through a semi-retirement, but his nephew Larry June actually brought him back out. And you know, Larry June is one of the biggest. He's one of the biggest artists to come out of the Bay Area hip hop scene in a long time. And they've done several collaborations together. They toured together, and you know, Black C, he's still doing it, man. He's still carrying the RBL Posse name, and he's still honoring his fallen comrades, Mr. C and Hitman. So he's still out here doing this thing out here, and I'm glad to see it. Joe Fresco, like I said, he's a rap artist from San Jose. He's a fairly new artist. I mean, compared to Black C, he is a new artist. I mean, Black C got 30 years in the game, so he's an OG at this point. I wasn't familiar with Joe Fresco prior to picking up this Ruthless album, so this album was actually my introduction into him. But I looked on his Spotify and I saw where he's actually been around for a few years. I think he's been dropping music since like the early 2010s at least. I know I seen one project far back as like 2015 or 2016. So yeah, he actually been around for a minute. But I really think that this Ruthless album is what is a bit of a breakthrough from him. I think that him collaborating with Black C, because Black C is a legend in hip hop. And I think this really put a lot more eyes on him, and it helped raise his profile. So I think a lot more people are starting to recognize him. But I do plan on checking out some of his other material outside of this album, man, because he's a real dope artist, and I really like his style. And I look at him as being the next person to really coming out of the Bay that's really gonna blow up pretty soon. So it really kind of surprises me that I'm not seeing a lot of hip hop platforms talk about this Ruthless record as good as it is. You know, I would have thought that, especially with it being connected to Black C or RBL, I would have thought more hip hop platforms would have picked up on this. But I don't see a lot of them talking about this album. Even the ones that I really would have thought would have talked about it aren't even talking about it, which surprises me a little bit, because some of them have had Black C on their platform and interviewed him and talked about, you know, RBL, the RBL legacy and so forth. But I've only seen one other album review on YouTube about this record other than mine's, which honestly, man, I don't really think that's right. I think there should be more people talking about this record because it's a really good album, and that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing an album review myself because I want more people to hear this album, especially people who are huge fans of West Coast hip hop. Yeah, so if you know anything about Black C, you know that all his albums always have a theme around them. He's not one of these artists that just puts out anything, and he doesn't just throw a bunch of songs on an album. No, if you listen to a lot of his records, they all have a certain theme around them, and the theme around Ruthless is West Coast hip hop. And what I mean by that is they are really representing what the West Coast hip hop sound really is. Because my personal opinion, you know, I'm not from California, but I've always been a huge fan of that region's sound. People that personally know me, they'll tell you that about me. But you know, the West Coast was always known for G-funk and mob music. That's what it was really known for. I mean, you had other artists like The Good Life, like the Project Blowed and the Far Side and Hieroglyphics that's deviated from that sound and went for a more like West Coast boom bap sound. But we all know that the West Coast was always known for that G funk and that mob sound. You know, DJ Quik, Dr. Dre, you know, Snoop, you know, E40, Short, Tupac, Keek the Sneak, all of them, Digital Underground. That's what the West Coast was known for. They were known for that funky sound from the LA to the Bay. And I think that a lot of the newer artists that are coming out of the West Coast, they've deviated from that. You know, they're trying to sound like other regions. They're trying to sound like Atlanta trap or Chicago drill, and that's not the West Coast. And even back in the 2010s, you know, DJ Mustard, man, he had cultivated a modern sound for the West Coast. Even although it came from the Bay Area, he won't admit it, but his sound came from the Bay Area. It came from the Bay Area hyphy movement, but he did at least cultivate a modern sound that gave LA its own signature sound at that point. And I think a lot of the artists have even deviated from that. I mean, you did have some little pockets like YG. He did that Still Brazy album that really brought back that G-Funk mob sound. But for the most part, man, it's not really, a lot of the new artists aren't really repping it like that. And I think that's what this Ruthless album does. You know, Black C and Joe Fresco, they really make a statement with this record, and they remind everybody what the West Coast hip hop sound is, and it's a reminder to why the West Coast hip hop scene was so dominant in the early to mid 90s. And I think it also makes a statement that G-funk and mob music is not dead. It's very well alive. I will say that the Bay Area has done a way better job at representing their regional sound than LA, because the Bay Area is still on that mob sound. I mean, if you listen to the Mount Westmore album that Snoop, 40, Short, and Cube did, if you listen to the production on that album, a lot of that production is mob. It's got some G-funk, but most of the production on that album is mob, and a lot of E40's, even his most recent album, still has that mob sound. A lot of the artists coming from the Bay still have that mob sound. Even Black C's solo material, still very much mob. But LA, I think LA has done, I think they've done more of a job of deviating from the G-funk sound. A lot of the newer LA artists, I don't hear a lot of G-funk coming from them. To me, it just sounds a bit more like Chicago drill or Atlanta. But this record, it really brings back that sound. It's just a celebration of that '90s era of West Coast hip hop, because that was a really great era. I mean, it dominated, and there's a reason why, because people were so blown away by that sound. You know, even though Dre didn't create G Funk, but he definitely popularized it, and he redefined what the way the West Coast sounded. But it also celebrates the early gangster rap era of uh, of West Coast hip hop. You know, when Too Short was coming out of the Bay, when Eazy-E and NWA were coming on the scene, Ice-T, King T. It even celebrates that late '80s era when gangster rap was really starting to come on the scene as well. So the whole entire album is just a whole celebration of the West Coast, and it pays homage to LA, and it pays homage to the Bay Area as well. Yeah, so for this album review, I actually wanted to do something a little bit different. I know I usually go through every single song on the album, but I decided to, you know what? I'm just gonna pick out my favorites and the ones that stood out to me the most, and I'm just gonna talk about them. And that was actually kind of hard to do, because overall, Ruthless is a really good album. Every song on this album is a banger. There's no whack tracks on here. There's no weak moments. And that's another thing that I can really enjoy about this record, is that you're listening to a real album. Every time I listen to this album, I feel like I got my money's worth out of it. Today, and I'm not just talking about West Coast hip hop, I'm talking about a lot of modern hip hop in general. A lot of times I feel cheated when I listen to a new artist, man. I feel like I don't get my money's worth out of the record. But this album is different, man, because it has a theme around it. It has a theme structured around it. The West Coast, that classic West Coast sound of G-Funk and mob music. That's the theme around it. And it also helps that they even have some skits scattered on the album. Not too many. I think about 3 or 4 skits. But the skits actually are a parody of a radio station called WBAY. And the like the DJ announcer is really funny. He's really funny, man. You should just hear some of the stuff he say on those skits. But you know, in recent years, I've kind of been glad that albums don't have skits. But you know what? Listening to this album, it actually kind of reminded me just how integral skits are to a record. They are very important to an album. Um, I think they really, yeah, they just hold a real importance to an album, especially when it's put together well, because the skits really help take you on an experience. You know what I'm saying? It really helps to invoke that journey that you're having when you're listening to the music, and that's what this album does. I mean, it really felt like it just brought back those times when I was a kid, and I was first getting into buying music, and especially listening to this type of music. You know, those albums, I felt fulfilled when I listened to those records, man, because of the theme that was set around it. And those skits on here really helped that. I also want to point out that those skits are actually influenced by the W Ball skit that Death Row Records were known for. Specifically Snoop Dogg and the Dogg Pound. You know, they used to do those funny W Ball skits that the late comedian Ricky Harris used to do, the DJ Easy Dick character. They're based around those skits, man. So I thought that was a real nice touch. And it's also another homage to the West Coast hip hop sound as well, man. So I really dug that. All right, so the first songs that I want to talk about is actually the first 2 songs, official songs, that kick off the album after that intro, and that's Audi 5000 and Dope Niggas. So both of these songs are a call back to the early part of West Coast gangster rap in the late '80s. Like I said, this was back when NWA burst on the scene with Straight Outta Compton, Ice-T, King T, Too Short from the Bay, Oakland. It's a callback to that era. So it has that late '80s sound of West Coast, particularly what Dr. Dre and them were doing with NWA sound, with those like heavy like 808 beats. That's what these records do. But Audi 5000 actually, this song is actually a homage to We Want Easy by Eazy-E, which was one of Eazy-E's biggest hits, man. It interpolates that same bass line that We Want Easy had, from Bootsy Collins, the name is Bootsy Baby, and it actually kind of has a slightly similar beat to We Want Easy as well. And I really dug Black C, his verse, because in his verse he was really paying homage, and he was referencing a lot of Eazy-E, in particular. Now Joe Fresco, he kind of had me dumbfounded when I first heard him on this song, because his cadence and his vocal style on here, he sounded a lot like Eazy-E. I had to stop for a minute. I'm like, wait a minute, did they use an unreleased verse from Eazy-E? But nah, it was Joe Fresco. He just really tapped into Eazy-E's cadence and vocal style, and he sounded a lot like him, man. But I thought that was really dope. Dope niggas. This one, man, I had a kick out of this one, man, because Black C and Joe Fresco, man, they were rhyming over the Dope Man beat from the NWA. And Dope Man, that's one of my favorite NWA songs right there. I listen to that song on a weekly basis, man. That's how much I dig it. But to find these dudes rhyming over that song, over that beat, that was just, man, that was just classic for me. And they killed it. They smashed on that song lyrically, man. Both of them, they just did their thing on that. This song, it has two samples that I picked up on. That was Memory Lane by Minnie Riperton and Funky Worm. Now, Funky Worm, anybody that's a West Coast hip hop fan, you've heard Funky Worm. It's got one of the most recognizable samples ever. That song, it's been sampled in so many like West Coast artist songs, particularly gangster rap and G-funk. Like you'll recognize you'll recognize that sample because so many artists have used it. It's an integral part of that LA G-funk sound. And then Memory Lane, this particular sample, that's actually a reference to Minnie Riperton. Minnie Riperton made the song. It's a reference to RBL Posse because on their second album, Ruthless by Law, the last song on that record, Still Ain't Learned, when the beat switches to Black C's part, they use that sample of Memory Lane. So, you know, that was a shout out to RBL Posse and I guess a celebration to the RBL legacy as well. But that was a really dope song. Two opening songs that really kicked off the album and really set the tone for the rest of the record, in my opinion. All right, so my next pick is Coming Ruthless. Now, this is the track that made me go online and immediately buy a physical copy of this album. Like, this album, this is the epitome of gangster rap. This is that 90s hardcore gangster rap from the West Coast, man, right here. The beat samples Atomic Dog by George Clinton. Just like Funky Worm, Atomic Dog, a huge staple in West Coast hip hop, especially gangster rap and G-funk. So many artists have sampled Atomic Dog. I mean, that beat was really ahead of its time when it came out back in '82. But that beat, that song really laid the groundwork, and it really laid the template for G-funk. I mean, Snoop Dogg's first major solo hit, What's My Name, sampled Atomic Dog or interpolated Atomic Dog. That's where he got the idea for that song. But so many other artists from the West Coast have utilized that song as a sample and as a template for the G-funk sound. But like I said, man, this song is hard. I mean, this song is gritty. I mean, that beat, they made that Atomic Dog beat, that funky beat. They made that bass line so gritty and grimy, man, and it really goes along with the gangster lyrics that they spit on here. It's got some slight keys, you know, like the typical keys, kind of synths that you hear in gangster rap, especially 90s gangster rap. Like I said, dark, funky bass line. And I'm telling you, man, this song is the fitting song for people who like the low ride, and it's a fitting song for all the gangsters in the hood. You know what I'm saying? It really is, man. Like, you know, if you somebody that's into that life, into that gangster lifestyle, you know, you low riding or you claim a set or whatever, this particular song right here, this is the perfect soundtrack for that. You know, not that I'm condoning criminal lifestyles or anything like that, but I'm just saying, Coming Ruthless, that's the perfect song for that. You know what I'm saying? It just has that whole vibe. I mean, it's a hardcore gangster rap song. It's gritty and it's grimy, man, but very, very representative of that like mid-90s style of gangster rap when it was really taking off and it was really dominating out here in the music industry. All right, next pick is called Collar Poppin'. And again, staying within the LA G-funk sound, but Collar Poppin', this is a laid-back track. You know, the song is funky. It's got a very bouncy rhythm, and it's perfect for riding to or having a party to. So you can ride to this song. You can have a party to it. Basically, Collar Poppin' just gives off good vibes. It gives off good energy. It's got some melodic keys and synths, and the way the melodic keys and the bouncy rhythm that this song has, it actually reminds me a lot of DJ Battlecat's production. If you know anything about DJ Battlecat, man, he one of the greatest producers to come out of California, out of the West Coast. He produced Domino. He produced a lot for Domino, and he produces for Snoop Dogg. He's actually Snoop Dogg's DJ, I believe, but he's also a pioneer that I don't think gets a lot of credit for really crafting and developing the G-Funk sound coming out of LA. But this song actually kind of reminds me of his production sound. And then that's about it right there for that song. Yeah, but yeah, it really sounds a lot like DJ Battle Cat and what he does. And then the next song, my next pick on here, called Not the Same. Now this track right here, it kind of switches gears. It switches gears a bit because it goes from the LA style G-Funk, and now this one goes and represents for where Black C and Joe Fresco come from, which is the Bay Area. So this song, this is more along the lines of that 90s Bay Area mob sound. And I like this song, man. It's got this real deep, funky 808 bass line. If you know anything about the Bay Area mob sound, it's got this sinister bass line that's like real funky and groovy. And plus it's got this real cool melody that's R&B influenced, mainly by late 80s R&B. But I think one of the main touches that really makes this song stand out is how they sample Michael McDonald's Sweet Freedom. Now Sweet Freedom, man, anybody that grew up in the 80s, you know that Sweet Freedom, that was a major pop hit back in the 80s. And I really like how they utilized that sample. I really like how they utilized it throughout the entire song, and as well as in crafting it in part of the hook. That was a real nice addition to that track. That really brought that song out a lot. Alright, so another highlight for me is the track called Keep It Player. Now this is arguably the smoothest song on the album. Actually, may not be an argument to it. I think this is the smoothest song on the album. You know, lyrically, Black C and Joe Fresco, man, they killed this song, man. They in full player mode on this track, man. Hence the title, Keep It Player. So this is a song that's really crafted for the females. This song is really geared towards the females. So it's a perfect track to listen to if you chilling with a lady friend, or if you out and about cruising with a lady friend. You know, it's got a real smooth, funky, laid back beat. You know, it's perfect for like those late night cruises in the city. Like if you out on a date or something like that, or if you solo, man, I think it's a real good song for late night cruising. And honestly, Keep It Player, it kind of reminds me a little bit of DJ Quick sound, like I guess like the mid 90s, like the Safe and Sound era to maybe what's that album he did, Rhythmalism, kind of that era where he kind of had more of an R&B influence in his sound. That's what this song really kind of reminds me of. So I thought that was a nice touch. And then, like I said, you know, Joe Fresco, his cadence and his vocal style is kind of similar to DJ Quick and Eazy-E. So I thought this was a really good song. One of my favorites on the album. Next one, Game Chose Me. Now this is another huge highlight. And what I like about this song is that it samples one of the greatest hip hop songs of all time, a groundbreaking hip hop song. That's Slick Rick's Children's Story. Man, I really like the way that they sampled that and the way they flipped that track on here. And you know, sonically, Game Chose Me. This is just another example of how, like, Black C and Joe Fresco, they're celebrating that golden era of hip hop, what we call the golden age era of hip hop. Definitely check out the video. Video is really dope. So check out that video. The beat is still funky, but it actually kind of has that modern, like, West Coast hip hop sound. It kind of, to tell you the truth, it's a bit hyphy. It's a bit hyphy, and it actually kind of sounds a lot like what DJ Mustard was doing back in the 2010s. It actually has that type of vibe to it, which was hyphy. Which is hyphy. As much as he tried to deny it, that was hyphy. That was the Bay Area hyphy sound. But anyway, you know, what I mean by that is that this song is very up tempo and it's danceable. So you can dance to this song. I mean, this is another track that has good vibes to where you can just ride to, or you can throw it on at a party or a cookout or somewhere. And it's just a great song to just have a good time and dance to, and just, you know, kick back and have a good time with friends and family, honestly. Well, maybe not friends and family. I mean, you know, maybe not family because of the language, but you know, it just gives off good energy and good vibes, man. It's just, you know, you can party to this song or you can ride to it, whatever the choice you have, whatever choice you want to pick. All right, so my next pick is Over and Over. Yeah, man, this is another personal favorite of mine, man. I really dig listening to this song when I'm in my car, especially like if I'm headed to work or I'm running errands or something, man. I really like throwing this track on and just riding to it. Again, this is Bay Area. This is that Bay Area mob sound. But this one was more melodic. This is more melodic. When I was thinking about this, I'm thinking maybe they kind of interpolate over and over by Shalimar a little bit on this song. I'm not quite sure. I'm just saying that because of the title of the song, Over and Over. I'm thinking that that's the interpolation that they use on this song is from Shalimar's Over and Over. I don't know, but it does have like a 80s R&B influence. But the beat is just so mobbed out, man. I mean, it really, that bass, that 808 bass just really hits right. If you got the right kind of system in your car, this is definitely the one that you want to pull up in a Walmart parking lot and turn the volume up. This is definitely the one that would probably turn heads when you ride through a parking lot at Walmart or something like that, man. But I just really like that 80s R&B influence that it had, and everybody on that track straight up smashed, man. Black Sea, Joe Fresco, everybody just smashed on it. Next one, Northern Cali, man. Now this one actually had to grow on me a little bit. I didn't think it was a bad song initially, but I just never quite paid attention to it. But this one has really grown on me and has become one of my top favorites on here. My biggest draw to Northern Cali is that it has that Too Short bass line. And what I mean is it has that deep 808 bass line that pretty much if you got the right type of system in your car, you could definitely wake up your neighborhood. And another thing that I mean by the Too Short bass line is that it gives me Freaky Tales and Dope Fiend beat vibes, man. It kind of sounds reminiscent to that. Like, you gotta understand, Too Short was a pioneer in that Bay Area mob sound, and Freaky Tales and Dope Fiend beat really was the two songs that really set the standard for the Bay Area sound. And so that bass line just really sounds very similar to them, But it's got a nice beat, it really knocks, and it's got a real cool rhythm. Again, this song, you can ride to it and you can dance to it as well. So there's a lot of things that you can do with this track right here. And I think another added touch to this song is that there's these horns that pop up on certain parts throughout the song, and it actually gives Northern Cali a slight jazzy touch, which I thought was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool. I wasn't really expecting that, but it was a nice addition to that song. It really made it stand out for me when we're listening to it. All right, so next on my list is Make It Funky. Now, this song actually first appeared on Black Sea's solo album called The Black Album, which also came out in 2023, which I also own a physical copy of. Now, since the theme around Ruthless is really to represent that signature West Coast hip-hop sound, G-Funk and mob music, this album was definitely a better fit for Make It Funky. I liked it on the Black Album, but it actually does sound a bit out of place on the Black Album. But I understand why they did it, why they had it on the Black Album. That was more so like an introduction and them testing the waters. And that actually became one of the more popular songs off of the Black Album. But it definitely was a better fit here on Ruthless. And again, they go back to that LA G-Funk sound. Make It Funky actually samples More Bounce Than an Ounce by Zapp, which we all know, More Bounce Than an Ounce. That's another song that's been a staple in West Coast hip-hop. Another song that was very much sampled and interpolated by a lot of artists of the G-Funk gangster rap era. You know what I'm saying? I don't know too many artists that didn't sample More Bounce Than an Ounce. That was just like George Clinton, Atomic Dog, and Funky Worm. This is another one of those songs that really helped develop that G-Funk sound. But Make It Funky, man, this song is fitting for a gangster party. This is a gangster party track because it has the right balance of being hard enough for the gangsters, but it's fun enough for regular party goers. Like, you could honestly use your imagination and you could visualize a Compton house party that's packed with normal party goers, but plenty of gangbangers as well. That's the kind of vibe that it has, man. But that's what I dig about it, man. That's what I dig about it. But I'm glad they put it on this album, though, because it definitely was a better fit on here. But I still understand that they put it out on the Black Album as a introduction to Test the Waters. And my last pick is called Stick to the Code. Man, another go-to for me. You know what I'm saying? Again, you can add this on my growing list of tracks to ride to. To tell you the truth, probably after I do this video, the whole entire album is gonna be on my list. That's just how good it is. But Stick to the Code, this right here is the epitome of the Bay Area sound. I mean, the beat is funky, got a smooth bass line that's groovy. I mean, it's got these synths that's played on the track that sound very buttery. Like that, yeah, like the melody on there is kind of buttery. That's like the best word I could come up with describing it. And it actually reminds me a lot of that P-Funk influence. Yeah, like the keys and everything that's played, the synths, it's got a P-Funk influence. If you know anything about Parliament Funkadelic, you know exactly what I mean by that. But in a nutshell, I think Stick to the Code, it actually kind of reminds me of that funky Oakland hip hop sound. You know what I'm saying? Because there's moments when I'm listening to Stick to the Code where I'm expecting Too Short to show up for a verse, because I could definitely hear Too Short spitting over this song. It just has that vibe. And the production, it kind of reminds me of Ant Banks, his signature style. If you know anything about Ant Banks, man, he was a huge part of the crafting the Bay Area sound, the Bay Area rap sound. If you go back to like the early Too Short records from what Shorty the Pimp and all of that whole Dangerous Crew era, that was Ant Banks' sound. That was Ant Banks' sound. Even Spice One's first album, I think Ant Banks and Easki produced most of that. But yeah, it really has an Oakland funk type of vibe to it. It's heavily inspired by P-Funk. But yeah, Stick to the Code, man. That's a great joint. That's a great joint, man. One of my top favorites on the record. But yeah, that's about all I can say about it, man. Like I really did that song. Perfect to ride to. Really like jamming out to that joint. Yeah, so in conclusion, man, I really think more people need to give Ruthless its props, man. I kind of understand what Black C when he said, what's that line he used to say? 10% love me, but 90% hate me. I think that's one of his quotes, his most popular quotes. I kind of understand that. I kind of understand that now, because to me, as good as this record is, I expected more hip hop platforms to be talking about this, especially people that come from the West Coast. I expected more people to really be talking about this, man. I don't understand why more people aren't really talking about this album, because it's really good. I mean, they really did their thing on this record. I mean, they really have reminded everybody what the West Coast sounds like. Hey, to all the young artists coming out of the West Coast, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to hate on y'all. Y'all out there doing numbers, making your money, doing your thing, man. But come on, man. Let's get back to the G-Funk. Let's get back to that mob sound. I mean, like I said, the Bay Area is doing a real good job at sticking to their signature sound. They're updating it, but they doing a real good job at sticking to that. Look at Larry June. Larry June, one of the biggest rappers to come out of the Bay in a long time. And he's keeping that mob sound going. He's updating it to a new generation. He's bringing it to a new generation. I think LA need to look at that, and that's what we need. That's what LA need to do. Well, I'm saying we like I'm from there, but no, that's what LA need to do. LA need to update that G-Funk sound, and they need to bring it to the new generation. I mean, YG did it with the Still Brazy album. DJ Mustard, even though like I said, his style came from the Bay, he did cultivate a modern sound for LA that a lot of the LA artists at that time that were blowing up were gravitating to. So I just think LA need to get back to that. I think California in general just need to really get back to their sound. I mean, come on. Yeah, Atlanta's got its sound, Chicago's got its sound. I mean, everybody's trying to sound like them. And to a degree I understand, but let's a lot of these regions were dominant and they became huge because they brought something new to the sound of hip hop. They had their own regional sound, and I think California has gotten away from that. And this album Ruthless is a reminder to everybody that G-Funk is still here, mob is still here, and we can still do this music. We can update it. You know what I'm saying? Like look at DJ Premier. DJ Premier, he's known for boom bap. Boom bap has actually made a comeback. With Griselda and all those cats and stuff like that. Boom bap has made a comeback, but it's just updated and it's being reintroduced to a new generation. And I think that's what this album is doing, and which is why I really don't understand why more people ain't talking about it, because I feel like that this is a record that could be right up there at the front as far as leading and reintroducing people to what the West Coast hip hop sound really is. That's why I'm so passionate about this, man, because I'm such a huge fan of West Coast hip hop, man. I really think that this album is getting overlooked, and it shouldn't be, man. I think people should be paying attention to this record because it's really good music. But hey, that's what I'm here for. That's why I decided to do this album review, because I saw that there was only one other review out there on YouTube, and I wanted to give my opinion and my perspective on this record because I think this is a really good album, and I think everybody should check it out. So yeah, this is Black C, Joe Fresco, Ruthless, August 2023. You know what I'm saying? If you're somebody like me that's into physical CDs, you can definitely pick this up at RBLPosse.com. I actually got my copy from mintunderground.com. So you can pick it up there on those two websites. If you into physical copies, definitely go and stream this album as well. Go and stream it. Yeah, kind of beef up them numbers. I think the album's done a lot of great numbers streaming wise as well. But you know, yeah, if you, like I'm saying, if you somebody that's a fan of West Coast hip hop, but you miss that classic signature sound, this is definitely an album that you need to go check out, man. So definitely go do that. So that's it for this album review. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate each and everybody that stuck around and tuned in to this review. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope I inspired and influenced a lot of you guys to go out there and check out this album, because it's an album that I think more and more people need to hear, and I want more people to hear it, man. A big shout out to Black C, a big shout out to Joe Fresco. I heard in an interview that Black C said that him and Joe Fresco, they were kind of playing around with like maybe doing a sequel to this record. So I hope that comes to fruition, because I'm definitely looking forward to it. Because this album right here was a banger, man. Phenomenal record. Really dug it. So if you did enjoy this album review, once again, I just want to ask everybody if you can just like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, hope everybody has a blessed day and a blessed week. And yeah, everybody that's been supporting the channel, you know, I really appreciate all the views, the comments, and everything. Oh yeah, a huge thank you to Black C from RBL Posse. I actually did a book review on his autobiography, and he actually saw my video and commented. He gave me a really cool comment. He gave me some really kind words, man. I truly appreciate it. Appreciate that. You know, Black C, if you see this video, I really appreciate you for that, man. You really motivated me to continue like putting out content. I really appreciate that, man. And yeah, if you haven't checked out that book review I did, I'll put a link to it in the description. But yeah, hope everybody has a blessed day and a blessed week. And as always, hope everybody just stay safe out there. And love, peace, and music. Peace out, y'all.